is.
Oh shoot.
Oh, oh shoot! I know. Get rid of the old man
Good
glasses and
God.
put on
Can
the.
you see that far?
Glasses. You see that far? Not really.
How's the
No, I'm doing the best.
how's the
I'll do the best
how's
I.
the Florida weather treating you?
Oh, it's hotter than you know, hotter than hell right now. But I'd rather sweat than freeze. You know that old
Yeah,
deal.
no, I it's easier to take clothes off for me, so I like yeah.
I noticed that, and you're very good at
Yeah, I mean
wiping
it's
out
nice weather out.
those
I
certain
want to get
areas.
those tan lines cleaned up a little bit, just gotta work with it.
My fiance, she keeps going to what she calls the solarium, which is, the tanning salon in Serbia. And she does it starkers, totally buff. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in a few
Yeah,
days.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you fly out July 4th, right?
yeah, that's correct. I will be out July 4th, and over there, the whole thing is Europe hasn't been open,
No, it hasn't.
but this is yeah, Serbia's a Schengen country, and I should have no problem getting in there at all. But I've got contacts over there if I do.
Perfect.
And there's a guy I want to introduce you to one of these days he's an attorney here and also overseas, and he's former, Serbian Army Special Forces.
Perfect.
So what the heck? I mean, we can always have international law and consultants. He's such a great guy. He has given me so much information about, this and that in Serbia. And there's on the State Department website, it says how dangerous Serbia is and this and that. No, my 2 blocks here got more stuff going on in that respect than
Right. I mean,
than the whole
I
country
always,
over there.
I always tell people, take care of your own backyard before you start assuming anything's worse. Because there's some parts of, I mean, when I used to do like the Secret Service stuff, we do these details in places in New Jersey or Washington State, where you're like, you go down the wrong street, you are not even in that country anymore. And so people just got to be prepared
Yeah,
better.
that's it. That's Roger that. I mean, and copy that. That's the same thing about teaching in Inglewood. What I would go down there. I don't know if you read about some stuff that I
Yep.
posted. Is the shot callers kids are going to my class or JJ's class, so we're safer than anybody else
Right.
going down there. They know what our car is and this and that and the other thing. And when I got into California Youth Karate Club, it was all South Central. It was all about after school programs in that area. So I was going to Lawndale, Linwood, Lenox, Compton, Inglewood, and all these school board meetings and student counts, whatever it is, parent teacher, the whole 9 yards, and making my pitch about having on-site after-school programs. But the thing is that we had to convince them we're not going to teach your children how to fight.
Right.
We're not going to teach them how to hurt somebody. We're going to give them discipline, and you have to be very careful about what you teach kids. And just between you and me, I hope I don't PO anybody out there who's a BJJ fan. But teaching a kid how to break somebody's arm and choke somebody out at a young age, that's a little dangerous. Now, also, humbly, BJJ, if you're on the ground already, somebody come along, football kick you in the head.
Right.
My thing was always stay on your feet, and that's what's great about Hapkido, is that you got to be on your feet. You want to be able to bounce up, but you need to know how to make friends with the ground, and you know that very well, John. Because if you take somebody down, you better know what you're doing when
Yeah,
you're
I
on the
mean,
ground, or
we
have
always, there's
control.
one of those things where the Secret Service, they do a lot of the core principles of Krav Maga. So it's basically weapon retention, disarming, but it's very aggressive and violent means and way of surviving. So every time we get doing these drills where you get thrown on the ground, or you have to get back as fast as you can, because unless you're even a Gracie or someone that's really comfortable on there, why would you ever want to be below someone? Like that's a fear of mine. And so when working, I'm kind of like, man, if a crowd rushes you or someone jumps over a barricade, I always need the upper hand. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're in a crowd control, or you've created a phalanx of that blue
right.
line, or if you have people around you, you need to be able to feel what's going on with them and have trained,
Right.
right? Uh, in all of those kind of situational things, and be situationally aware. And you know, not having anybody behind you is a huge thing, for example. So, you know, and then the ground is not comfortable.
No.
You know, if you're on a mat, you know, these guys doing BJJ, they're not on concrete. They're, you know, in a more comfortable environment. So the thing is that that's really painful. I learned too that my asset was not, you know, it's the great equalizer, the ground, right? Which is why, you know, officers want to take, you know,
Right.
someone down. You have more control. You're not worried about them escaping. You may be worried about them doing something, but you have that training, and then you would hopefully be able to contain them while other officers arrive or
Right.
other team members arrive, and then, you know, you do your thing. So, I mean, that's the whole thing about Hapkido. My whole thing is I always was fast.
Right.
That was my edge, just naturally gifted and fast, and that comes from my father's side of the family, just good genes. My mother's side of the family too. But I was, you know, Bill Wallace would be coming at me trying to take my head off, and I'd be over
Right.
there. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Super foot. Right.
So now he's got to grab me with his bad knee. And, you know, so the last few seconds or whatever, I'd let him tag me a little bit, and then ding, and then naturally after the ding, because he's so frustrated, after the round is sound, he's going to tag me again. So I just keep my hands up, and, you know, he hit me with one of those
Right.
hooks, you know, that left hook. But I want to make sure my hands up, so at least and I'll bow to him. I remember we were going at it, not he and I, but some kind of black belt class, because he would go teach at Jun Chung, and I was going out with another black belt, and I was getting the better of him, and I saw Bill coming over, because I'm still using peripheral vision
Right.
anyway, all the time. I'm constantly aware, right? And I knew he was going to sweep me or take me down, so I just let him. I'm not going to fight with that kind of guy. I'm just, okay, if I'm going too hard on this guy, let Bill Wallace sweep me. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. And, you know, and then get up rather than be disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Because that's, you know, that's what he felt he had to do. Master Chung or Master Ree, Philip or Simon, they would have come and said, whoa, break, you know, Loren, you know, ratchet it down a notch. And my thing is I would only go as hard as the other guy would go. So if he wants to play, you know, tag or, you know, get rough,
Right.
then so would
So
I.
one of my questions, when people go through, whether it's Muay Thai, Judo, Taekwondo, Karate, obviously it's very structured. You learn the techniques. What parts of it in real life, a lot of that stuff you learned or taught, it is really not practical in the sense of a bar fight. And so I guess I want to ask you, I totally respect the martial arts. I never did it per se. I follow enough of it, and I think I take enough just from what I see and learn to kind of protect myself or a client. But how do you?
Right, yeah.
What's a cautionary tale for someone that's like, man, I love the bow, I love the clench, I love all the techniques, but when it comes to real life, what should people pull out of that martial art to stay alive?
Well, I'll just say this one thing. There's no rules on the street. When you're in a controlled environment, there are rules. I mean, you know, I'm always situationally aware. I have that, and then if I feel like something is going to go down, or if I'm aware of someone's body language, you know this, someone's
Right.
body language,
Posturing.
you know, they're obviously, you know, and then look, if somebody's yelling or somebody's venting, let them vent, let them yell, because they're getting it out. The ones that are scary is they're not saying anything, and they're right.
Right.
They're ready to just swing, and that's you know. So you kind of learn what the danger zone is. And my thing was always put that armor on and keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. Put the armor on, because as you know, you studied Krav. What's the first thing you want to get the guy to do is
Right.
talk, because you can't talk and, you know, basically do any technique effectively at the same time. Now, I'm not talking about key upping, because that's a whole other thing. I've used that so many times. Bust out that key up and people just freeze for a
Right.
second, you know. So that's the thing about key or about, and then you just put that armor on. You know, you just put that armor on, no matter how big or small. It's the size of the fight in the dog, not the size of the dog in the
Right.
fight. So when I'm out there, I am not thinking about any kind of complex technique. I am just putting my hands up, keeping my palms open, for example. So if anybody's recording this, or if anybody is watching this and is going to be a witness later, they're not going to see me with my fists balled up in a fighting stance and so forth. So they're just going to see me trying to avoid that. And if you've ever seen some of this footage, that I think it was online for a long time, this guy was in a melee. He was all by himself, and he just was using open palm. And I used to teach this to everybody. Open palm technique is much more powerful. I'd have somebody punch me in the
Right.
arm, and then I'd say, okay, now palm me in the arm, and I go
Right.
flying a couple feet, and I wasn't asking because, and then you have that also, that distance which you bridge, and then when you have your hands up, your chin down, you know, and then I don't care. I will headbutt, do all kinds of. That's why I loved combat hapkido. Is it's so nasty, but as a security specialist, or as someone who is a protection specialist, you're never going to use that. You shouldn't
Right. You
have
got to
to
get out
use
there with your
that.
client.
Oh,
Right. You're not there to fight.
right. You need to take care of the principal and make sure that she's safe. And that's what I look forward to going over with you and team and everybody else. Is like I said when we talked before, I want to be a fly on the wall, so I see what you guys are up to and what you're aiming for, and then I can add to the mix. I'm not going to tell anybody who's got 25, 30 years in an industry what to do. I need to learn first. And that's the whole thing about being on the street. You just want to be, you don't want to come off as a threat. You don't want to come off as this or that, or put the cape on. And when somebody starts something, it's just that whole mindset or energy, which is, okay, you know, are you ready to die? Because I
Right.
am. And if you are, let me help
Right.
you. So it's an aggressive mindset. It's a tactical mindset, which allows and enables you to engage without fear. Because if you hesitate, he who hesitates, will perish
Right.
or lose. So you got to be ready to act, but you have to act within the confines of your industry and of what you're supposed to be doing. Because hopefully there's other team members around. Hopefully, you're so amazing. I've kind of studied you a little bit. You go and you put your energy in an area first if you're going to be protecting a client. I've been in Orange County. I just happened to be staying at a hotel in Laguna, and President Reagan was going to be coming down there. And here's a whole
Right.
advanced team of you guys, Secret Service, and you're canvassing everybody. You've looked everybody up. You know who's coming, who's going. You've got egress routes mapped. You are so ready. But even then, you don't know, because look what
It,
happened
it, it could
to
split. I mean,
Reagan. He
it
was
could be
done.
Las Vegas. It could be the Bataclan. It could be Manchester. I mean, it could literally be any. And so I guess you kind of touched about it earlier. You were always kind of situationally aware. So if you go to a restaurant, is your back against the wall? Are you looking out a window? Like, so I'll
Always, always. And I am eyeballing through the window who's coming in, who's going out, who just went in the bathroom, and what was he
right.
wearing, and did he have a jacket on? Does he, I mean, it sounds kind of silly,
I
but I'm always going.
Unless I'm in my yard or the beach or some friend's pool that I know, I'll wear flip flops. But if I'm going to a movie theater or to a mall or something, I'm always in sneakers. I'm always thinking it's like that Die Hard. Yeah, it's a movie, but if there's broken glass or you have to run out and all this crazy stuff, I need to be as prepared as I can be. And so I think some people are very naive to. They're always going to be like, well, a cop might help me or someone else will defend my life. I think people need to be kind of better prepared themselves. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, the whole restaurant thing, like that, for whatever reason, I'm always like, I need to have against a wooden backdrop or a concrete wall, always looking out. And if it's 100 degrees out, some guy's walking in there with a winter coat on, my first thought is, well, he's got a
Right.
gun. He's got
Baggy
a gun,
clothes, or
or he's
yeah.
just going to start something.
Right. And you know what's interesting in this current situation, everybody's wearing a
No,
mask.
no, 100%.
So it's like, okay, so now you got to try to read the eyes, but what if they have glasses on? What if this? What if that? So again, it's body language. Yes, I always have my back up against the wall. I know where the exits are. I'm situationally aware. You know, I used to teach all this. I used to teach women's self-defense, and you know, what's the big thing? You know, ladies, be ready and be aware. And if you have seen somebody else before, or what, you know what
Right,
I mean? And when you walk up to your car, use reflections, take a lap around your car, even if you don't need
right,
to. Open up your vehicle, throw your purse in first. Don't get in and be, you know, taking off your purses, you know, that kind of simple
right.
stuff. And so you don't want to be the victim. And then people have different ideas, like in Krav, like now they're doing Sistema,
Yes,
right? In you know, and you know, I like that a lot, but again, all of this rolling or all of this sort of grappling stuff, it's going to go down in 2 seconds. You're not going to be if you're wrestling around, you better have your takedowns down, or you better have the advantage of leverage, of line, of whatever it
right,
is. So that's just something that you have to train, train, and that's the bottom line. So you know, and then you throw off that energy. See, that's what I like about you is you'll go in and you'll walk a facility first. You'll put your energy in that room. You'll look at every single possibility and what you can do, and you will have been there and sniffed everybody out, and you know who's who and what's what. And you will have said, "Hey, what about this area? What about that? Do we have clear access to a vehicle so we can get somebody in there and out of
right,
the area?" That it's like doing stunts. You know, if you're gonna set yourself on fire and you're with the stunt coordinator, you're it's CYA.
right,
You know, you're like, okay, is the ambulance there? Do they know where they're going?
right. I
You
mean,
know,
it's all
and,
the preparation and the advance work is so vital. A lot of times, I mean, I obviously I oversee the event side, cruise, maritime security, but the personal protection artist bands, a lot of times people are very like, oh, you work with a band or a celebrity or that athlete. It's like, no, it's cool. Like if they're good people, that's all I care about. But you don't understand when stuff doesn't happen, it means you've done a good job advancing preparation. If your
right,
client has is diabetic, where's his shots? Do you have a med pack on you? How far away is the hospital? If you're at a festival, can a
right,
helicopter
right,
land and airlift your client out? And so a lot of times people are like, oh,
right.
I mean, it goes as far as if you're in a venue, check the fire extinguishers, make sure they're up to date, hold people to task, because I think that's a respect thing too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you have a blanket, you know what I mean. If you have one of these fireproof blankets, you know you want to be able to throw it over your client even, and you just got to be able to. You know, it's so funny. Just to digress for a moment, I would do these events for ABC Special Projects, and I had gone upstairs to change clothes. I think I might have gone over this with you, but just to let
Yep.
people know that are listening, I had gone upstairs to change into my tuxedo to come back down, and Secret Service had there and swept the room. And I had been given this little card to
Yep.
show, you know, when I walk in. So I walk back in the Century Plaza ballroom, and all of a sudden I'm doing a road runner because two of your federal, you know, FBOs or your Secret Service guys have lifted me off my feet gently, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know, they're just there because they were behind the doors. The doors swing out, but they were up against the wall. I couldn't see them,
Right.
but they had me. They had me immediately, and I'm like, I got a card in my pocket. Can I reach in? No. They opened up they opened up my coat and pulled out that little card that said this is who this guy is, and then they gave me a pin,
Yeah, the
and
Sarge
that
pin
was that.
system. Yep.
You know what I'm
Um,
so
one of the other things, a lot of times we'll have people, they just come out of the military or law enforcement, or they're a big bouncer type guy. And not a
mhm,
lot of those times, a lot of those people don't transition well into the private sector because either they're very they come in with a mindset, oh, I get to fight people, or I'm already angry, where there's a reason why we have lawyers to protect our people. When we have classes,
Yes,
like when it comes to
sir.
instruction in our
Yes, sir.
classes, it's essential that they talk with the lawyer about articulation. And a lot of times, not throwing the punch is the most badass thing you could do. And it's
Absolutely right.
crazy how trying to tell someone that you might be the strongest guy, man, but I want someone with more heart and a better thinker. And
That's
so
it.
I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, you hit it on the head. You know, these guys transitioning from the warrior that is a shoot
Right.
first, take them out, protect everybody, and to
And I
you know,
love that.
it's
And I
not a
love that mentality, but it's not successful in the private sector.
right, because you can't really hurt
No.
anybody. You're it's totally the opposite. You need to just make sure that whoever you're protecting, the team that you're with, the area that you're supposed to secure, all of that stuff is clear. Everything is okay. You've had your dogs in, you've had your machines in to make sure that there's no devices in there or anything like that. And so that transition from being a tool, a war tool, to which I mean, what do they do? They kill first and ask
Right.
questions later, right? And that's completely the opposite in your industry. And I've had a little bit of experience with that, but I didn't devote my life to it, but I sort of did in a
Right.
sense because of kids, because I wanted to know that I could handle business no matter how many people are around, and I would always do it in such a calm way. And so you got these guys, and they have, as you said, this modus already of being aggressive.
Right.
And how do you debrief that and change that into what is the thinking man's world, which is yours? I'm not saying they don't think and they're
No,
not
they're great
incredible.
thinkers. They're great leaders. It's you gotta somehow
Yes,
redirect that warrior part of that mindset into something where it's going to make you more
right.
successful in the private sector.
Agreed. And that's something that, when we get into stuff together and we're training together, I'm going to talk to you guys about methods. And I am very much into seeing if I can push these guys' buttons. I want to see
Yeah,
how they're going to.
right. Because Secret Service, we deal with protesters obviously all the time, and they would say stuff like "F you, pig" or "baby killer" or just ridiculous stuff. And it's like there's not a lot that sets me off. I mean, there's a time and place where if it's something you see something happen to a woman or racist stuff, like my temperature kind of boils. But when you're working, I mean, the stuff you see in the private sector, like you just got to know how to mentally kind of reset yourself every chance you get, just to kind of keep that kind of clear. Because you're going to come across people. I mean, I've had to lock up with people, or the drug. Half the time, these people are drunk. They have no idea what they're doing, but you still have a job to do with your client.
Right.
Because that drunk 300-pound guy running your client, he might be harmless in his mind,
Yeah.
but he can still kill you.
Yeah.
So
No question.
I'm
No
all about
question
that
about
type
it.
of training where it's very clear in the mind.
And that's something that I know you do is you
Right.
debrief, and you tell your guys don't carry anything into this next op accept what you need, but be ready to escalate. But understand, if you need to talk to somebody, if you need to get this off your chest or to get something out, it's so important to have that kind of relationship and communication. What does that do? It creates another level of closeness with the team and with everyone who is even doing, an individual job right now for a particular
Right.
client, and they have to be low key. That was always something that kind of people never expect me. They look at me and they go, "Oh, he's not a threat.
Right.
He's
Right.
nothing. He's a stick." Perfect. That's exactly what I
Right.
want you to think. But if you're dealing with the crowd, I mean, as you said it, a lot of and honestly, John, I have so much respect for you because you deal with people on the worst days of their life or worst moments of their life. All people on the blue line do, and that's so true what you said. You have to be able to just go to one, what is it, one level up, one force level up if you are in uniform, if you are on
Right.
duty, But if you're not, it's a totally different situation. You have to use communicate. You have to be able to communicate. You have to have nonverbal communication with others. But if you're all by yourself, then you need to check in. You need to talk to people. I'm not saying you
No,
personally. I'm
it's
saying that
the
rhetorically.
communication is the
Yeah.
number one trait I think I would tell people, where you're going to get more done being a nice person, even if that person's being an asshole, than you threatening or grabbing someone or slapping someone. Like, it's just, the communication is totally key. And if you're having a bad day, whether mentally you have a fight at home with your girlfriend or your kid's sick or another issue at home, like, you can't bring that to work. And so the ability to kind of
No,
control that, like you said, will help build that trust level. And as long as it's so important not to bring issues outside your job, wherever long you're working, it could be 2 hours, it could be a year with a client, you need to maintain that
right.
level of focus.
Absolutely. And the decorum.
Right.
You want always to maintain that respect. And even if the client is acting out, it doesn't matter what they're doing. Your job is, to take care of them. So that's that. We in the stunt community, we would always say, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, I'm babysitting, which means you're working with actors. They're not used to these kind of
Right.
conditions. They're in a camp somewhere. You're in the middle of the woods. You got no heat. You got no, you're eating out of a can, or so because what are you doing? You're hardening them up.
Right.
You're trying to get them ready for this job that's going to require, like, I don't know if you saw, just to digress to movies for just a second. Did you see Extraction,
Yeah, Chris
the film
Hemsworth.
with Chris
I loved
Hemsworth?
it. Stunt work was awesome.
I was just
Yeah, stunt work was incredible.
blown away. Absolutely. And that's Sam Hargrave. That's J.J. Perry, my buddy. That one picture that
Yeah.
I put with me with a split back kick, and J.J.'s got his back. Okay, J.J. was 82nd Airborne.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that.
so yeah, he's amazing. He taught Keanu all of the gun fu and all that stuff for John Wick, and he's worked on so many shows. It's unbelievable. But what he brings in is he brings in that ability, and he's always had this because of the martial arts aspect.
Right.
He was all Army champion, all Armed Forces champion, Olympic alternate in 1988. When we met, we sparred hard one time, and I can take it. It doesn't look like, I'm very proud of this. I've been concussed many times, officially 6 times, and whacked all over the place, my nose over here, but I've never been knocked out. So the thing is it still happens. So I'm not want to jinx myself, but the thing about it is that we sparred really hard. He hit me with an axe kick because I was just goofing around in the back of the head, and my head just went like how you push a ball down in
Yep.
a pool and it
Right.
pops back up. That was my head. And then I come up from that kick and I just look at him and I go, nice shot. So again, that calm thing. And now he's turning white, and it's my mat. You know what I mean? Because I've been trained in that school for 11 years. And so I get him up against, and Master Chung is right in between us because here's the two lions going at it. And so I know he can go this way, back or forward, and he does exactly what I want him to do. And I stuck my heel in his
Right.
mouth and tacked his head up against the wall, and then Master Chung is in between us before it turns into anything else. But again, it's a controlled environment. But we never went hard like that again. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not
Right.
necessary. But we trained hard. We trained hard. We trained. I always protected the coconut.
Yep.
So my stomach was destroyed. I've had stomach reconstruction because my abdominal wall has been broken so many times. I had a hiatal hernia, torn diaphragm on either side, and the doctor's like, "How are you able to function?" And it's just like Dan Severn talking about his ligaments were gone and all. Well, you just, it's mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. But also, it's mind over matter. Like, how do you put your hand through those bricks? How do you do this? How do you do that? Well, you train, 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 and then you break that wall in your head, and break that brick in your head, and you see yourself growing through it. So all of these things that you're about, I'm about too, as well, because I have that in
Right.
me. Whether I'm walking down the street here, if I see somebody, like my neighbor needs help with their groceries, I'm over there
Right.
helping her. I don't even ask. Let me
Right.
get
No,
that for you.
it's
That
right.
kind of thing.
So I want to segue into kind of like the warrior mindset mentality. And so I don't know if
Yes.
you've read the article on ESPN yesterday about Christy Martin, the female boxer. She was the only female boxer to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like, she's probably to go down as probably the greatest female boxer. But so she actually was attempted. Her husband at the time almost killed her, shot her, stabbed her in the house, lacerated her femoral artery, like just craziness. She walks out of the house while the husband's in the shower, letting her die, jumps in a car, and gets taken to the hospital. And the whole time she's just like, I need to fight, I need to stay alive. And so go on ESPN, look up Christy Martin. It's just an incredible story.
I will.
But my sisters and I yesterday were talking, and we're just kind of like, are people bored with that warrior mindset, or could you instill that in other people? Like, for me, I see a professional athlete roll an ankle, or I can't play, I can't shoot the ball, I can't shoot the puck, I got the flu. Oh, cool, gotcha. But I see this woman now, I see the story, I'm like, she's a top athlete. She literally got shot. She's literally almost should have died twice in this one night. And she still stood up and had the will to fight. I'm just blown away by that mentality. I don't know how to instill that in other people.
Well, and that person has to have that kind of drive and that kind of mind over matter. Because if you can disconnect from pain, if you can disconnect from all these things, and if you can control your heart, that's the thing about Hapkido, for example. You learn about all of these things, how you literally use that key energy, and in her case, it was just will, sheer will, I'm sure. And yes, her conditioning had a heck of a lot to do with it. I would imagine that she was. I didn't see, or haven't seen this expose. But I'll bet you she had pressure on that femoral artery or on that main artery. I bet you she had the presence of mind.
She talks about what she did, what she grabbed, what she used for balance, what she used for, and it's just crazy because you're like you learn about her career and why one of her big famous quotes was, I don't want to be known as the best. I don't want to be known as a good female fighter, a good female boxer. I want to be known as a great fighter. It doesn't matter what sex you are. And so that mentality right there is just so. But I'm kind of curious. I wish there was a way to. How do we, as instructors or teachers, teach someone that concept of it is in you, it's in your body. How do you manifest that out to where if you are in a situation and you need that adrenaline dump, how are you going to survive?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is it's a staged process, I believe. Okay, because when I started doing martial arts when I was 17 and a half, I didn't have the conditioning.
Right.
So the first few times that I got hit or this or that, I was like, ow, ow, whatever. But eventually you're so conditioned that it conditions you mentally. So people, unfortunately, there's a lot of, shall we say, McDojos these days. And there's a lot of other things that are going on that it's just true. They're a business. When I got started, when you got started, we were there to learn how to fight.
Right.
And if you're gonna nut up, or get the wind knocked out of you, after a few times you get the wind knocked out of you, you learn how to control that. That's why I would say to anybody, go ahead. It was almost like Houdini, right? Go ahead, hit me as hard as you want, as long as it's not in the ribs or whatever, and I can take that. But now to the head as well. But the whole idea is can you train that and teach that? It depends on the other. It depends on your student. It depends on their ability mentally as well as physically. Because this gal is obviously physically gifted
top
as well.
1% athlete.
Right. So see, that's the top 1% mentality.
Oh.
And everything that we have is a challenge, right? Like I remember Simon Ree, back on me again, saying to me, Loren and so are the worst in the class. I mean, I'd been in the class for 2 weeks, but I said to myself, he is never going to say that again. And so all of these challenges, or, you look at things and you go, well, I don't need to go through all this pain. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. But that's the great equalizer, isn't it? If you can take it, that now you know what the technique feels like. Now you know what you're able to take, give. Yeah, give, fine. Anybody can hit somebody, but can you take it? And that's that's the other side of that coin. And you know, with combat Hapkido, I'm not going to teach anybody what I know,
Right.
because especially in our classes, no way. But I want to try to push their buttons.
Yeah, no,
You know,
it's
you know, we'll go over all of
right.
this. We'll go over all of this when we have our briefings, and when we talk to Chris and everybody else about, you know, what I'm doing and or why I would do that. But again, I need to be the fly on the wall. What's the first thing I can do is learn. Now, at 58 years old, do I still have that? Yeah, to a certain degree, I do. I don't have the same speed anymore, but my mental
Right.
acuity is still at peak. And look, it bothered me for a long time. Oh, I can't do all these things as fast as I used to. I can't do all this crazy stuff. But so what? Now I just need to learn a different way. Like when I get back, or when I, you know, do what I do, you know, I'll start working with the cane. I'll start working with, and you can do anything. Not that hopefully you're never going to need a
Right.
cane, but the idea is all of these things are tools. Now, the mind is the strongest weapon you have, but I'm not, again, saying you rhetorically. Uh, if you haven't pushed yourself to that limit, if you haven't been put into a situation in training, how are you going to know, you know, you especially as a leader, how are you going to know how this person's going to
Right.
react? So then you have to, with some kind of nurturing and training, and then do they want it that bad? Why in the military do they yell at you and break
I
you
love it.
down? Well, so me too, me too, so that they can build you
Right.
back up. And there's Admiral McRaven's speech, you know, and then he went through cancer, you know, after that, when he I don't know if you've seen that on YouTube. It is phenomenal. I watch that at least 2-3 times a week. Him going through, you know, what he learned, and, you know, the 10 lessons and how you're going to change the world. You know, first make your bed every day,
Yes. Yeah.
that
No.
kind of thing.
Incredible.
It's the
Yep.
little incredible. And then how did he beat what is it, leukemia?
Yep.
I think he had. Well, he came in, a doctor gave him a hug, and he talks about this on YouTube, and gave him hope. You know, can I go back to Afghanistan? Blah blah blah. He said, yeah, absolutely. He said, just don't get shot. The doctor telling him this. And so that doctor, by coming in and giving him that life
Right.
again, saying it's not over, go back, do what you want, and he's still around. And so he went back to Afghanistan for 5 years and led our forces over there, which is, you know, just an amazing testament to, yeah, fortitude, but that mental, that's why he needed,
Right. He
even
needed
this
something
incredible
to someone to
warrior,
tell him. Right. So going back kind of
right?
a bit, it's so
So
funny about the making the bed, and so when we're touring, obviously we're in a hotel before the show, wherever. When I wake up in the morning, I make my hotel bed. And a lot of people are like, "What?" Like people pay to do that, but part of me, so I make my hotel bed. If I have to shave or give a haircut or whatever I do, I clean the bathroom like it's my own. And so for me, I've always been raised to take care of yourself, take care of your surroundings. If it treat it like your own, great. But for me, it's also like
right,
I need that kind of clarity every day to be like, this is my routine. If I take care of the hotel bed, I know mentally and physically I'm going to take care of the client or the venue or whatever I'm doing that day. So it's kind of like we also have that saying where it's like first one's in, last one's out when you're touring. You come off the bus,
right.
grab your
Roger
coffee,
that.
walk around the venue, and then later at night after all the stuff's gone, like that Jackson Brown Stay song, once all the gear's gone, you do that one final lap. That's sort of like my end of the day
Right.
where it's like I made my bed no matter where I am, and I still made my
Mm-hmm.
my kind of mental bed at night. It's the little things. A lot of people don't.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You can't teach people that. It's just I think if people kind of start appreciating what they have and respect other people and other things, I think it's better off for
Right.
everyone.
No question. I mean, you have to have, and it's respect for self
Right. No,
first.
and
Yeah,
that's
you
amazing.
just described that.
Right.
Yeah, you just described that, John, so eloquently, that, you know, if you have that presence of mind and you have that respect for all, then you exude that energy, and then you also have that armor on,
Right.
you know, and you are ready. You are always ready. And, for me, sometimes that's hard to come down from. You know what I'm saying? So I need my rituals as well. Samurai tea ceremony. I mean, dude was outside lopping off heads all day. So he needs 45 minutes to make some tea and go through this
Right.
ritual to then calm the spirit, calm the mind. And I still have to do that. I still go through all of that as well. And so every day is an exercise.
Right.
Every day is an opportunity to continue that warrior mindset. I am a peaceful warrior. I mean, I'm not Dan
Right.
Millman, right? I mean, that's a great book. But the fact is that I am ready to help someone else. I mean, I've done this so many times. Look, after 9/11, I joined CERT. I joined Citizens Police Academy because I wanted to be a
Right.
part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Now, how many people do that? Well, there was a lot of older people in there. Nothing wrong with older people. But, I remember a guy getting upset with me because I was practicing, how to fold the arms, pick a guy up from behind, to grab his folded arms and to lift this guy up. Well, this guy weighed about 220 pounds. I'm 170 pounds then, soaking wet. So I had to yank him up a little bit because, hey, my back is more important than your little arms,
Right.
buddy. And he got so upset with me. Why did you, did it? And I said, well, if I'm going to drag you out of a burning building, it's going to be quickly.
Right.
And, that kind of thing. So maybe this guy shouldn't be here. But I would do CERT training all the time and recert, and then finally that program's gone away. In Hawaii, I was on the CERT team as well. And the thing is to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And that's the warrior mentality. I don't need to know that I can kick everybody's
No.
butt.
Right.
I want to kick my own
Right.
butt. I want to kick my own butt because if I've kicked, especially at my level, our level, if I do that, you can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. And you can't make me, upset or anything because, that's the whole thing. What if what's going on right now with me and this other person that I'm engaging with is a distraction for something else that's going on over there that another team member has to deal with? And, so, I mean, scenarios, we talked about this a little bit, going through all of these and testing the mettle of these
Yep.
candidates or whoever, and then preparing them. And look, you got to want to do that.
100%. Like
And,
we kind of talked on the phone before this live thing, but a lot of times people do something for a gig or the paycheck, which I am 100% behind survival. If you need money, do what you can, do it safely. But the
mm-hmm,
best people in this profession are the ones that this isn't a gig, this is their career, this is their life. And so
right.
you kind of want those type of people representing your company, representing whatever, anything associated with you. You want those type of people in your life because they kind of get the
And you just nailed it. You want those kind of people in your life,
right.
around you. And, I'd rather be in my own company than be, trying to fit
Right.
in. I sometimes feel like an alien, honestly, John. And that's okay because I feel, and I'm not trying to, pump myself up, but I just feel like other people, and again, I don't mean to be non-PC, but we're talking candidly here. Other people they don't get it. They're so focused on the little things, but not the right little
Right.
things, on the things that they're critiquing or critical of, and they're doing this, but they don't realize that three of them are pointing back at
Right.
you. So if you want to make a difference, or you want to be a part of something larger than yourself, which is what's the opportunity that you're giving me. And that is what really floats my boat, man. I want to be a part of the team. I don't care if I'm the pinky nail of it. I have no ego about that, and that's
Right.
another big
Ego
thing.
is the
Is
downfall of man.
Yep, it is the worst enemy of all men. And so, and you don't see that in nature. I mean, yes, fine, there are certain
Right.
animals
There's
that
the
are
call of
made
nature.
to
Right.
predate. Right, right. But you don't ever see, any, so this is a animals are perfect. They know exactly what to do, and they do it. And they have no TV, no internet, no other modus, so they're perfect being all the time. And for us, we have all of these distractions, all of these things that can take away from things, and so being able to handle your business and do it responsibly. This is how I was raised. Probably the same
Right.
with you. My mother did not coddle me, and it was not that and I had so many great experiences, and it was because at 9 years old I'm in London, and she's like, okay, go find your way to school. All right, yes, mom. And then I end up somewhere else, because I'm following these kids wearing these uniforms, and I'm sitting outside this headmaster's office, and he's like, "Yeah, I've got this young man here, and he's looking for the American school in London, and how would I go about getting him there?" And so I didn't know where Loudon Road was. I didn't know. But my mom was like, "Okay, go find it." I come in all scraped up from, sliding my bike into something, whatever. "Oh, go clean yourself up," So she never coddled me, but she would always take the time to explain to me why and what, and this is why I'm punishing you, this is why this is happening, this is why that is happening. So that made me just have all of that kind of understanding of communication, respect, I respect, everybody. And the only thing is that we have to always surround ourselves,
Right.
right, with those people that get it. And if they don't get it, I just it sounds maybe bad, but I don't really care to be around
Right.
you. And that's just maybe again, I don't know. I've just put my foot in my mouth, but I just don't really care. I'm more concerned about how I'm behaving than about what's wrong with this or what's wrong with that, unless it's constructive. And we can, I can, part of my, you know, part of my thing would be to be constructive and to critique, because I'm all about finding flaw, but first I start with
Right.
myself, and that's yeah.
So
So
kind
that's
of
that. I
not, I
mean,
mean, it's
so
obviously on the subject, but
let's
I've always wondered if, say, you're an eighth degree in karate and then you're an eighth degree in jujitsu, if just because it has the number eight, I get that, but is it the same? Is it the same black belt? Like, how does that structure work if you're have the eighth degree and a bunch of other, or it could be second degree, or is the rank structure the same in every art, and how'd that system get started?
no, no, not at all. Well, the system, there's many fables about the belt color system. My favorite one is that when you first start training and wearing a white belt. First of all, a dobak or a gi is funeral attire. It's what you would wear in Asia to be
Oh,
buried.
did not know that.
Okay, so so that's what that came from, right? So then the theories of these belt colors, colored belts, for example, was, well, you first start training, first of all, you never wash your belt, never, never, never wash your belt, right? So your white belt then becomes yellow because it starts to get
Oh,
stained, and then it becomes purple because it starts to
gold.
grow, some kind of got it. It becomes orange because of it, and then it becomes blue, and then it becomes green, and then it becomes red because of all the blood you've put in it, and then you test for your black belt, which only really means mastering the basics. I was I was told I could test for my black belt in Taekwondo and Hapkido, and Jun Chung and Masters, Master Ree, Philip and
Yep.
Simon, and all the instructors, this first place. Boxing, it was all about boxing, and then Hapkido to when you're in close and you need to contain, you need to use joint locks or grabs or how to escape or how to do whatever. Sweeps, takedowns, no kicking to the groin because it was too easy, and also there's a liability issue as well. And who wants to sorry, Kempo guys, who wants to get kicked in the hooves all the time? You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean, it's just too easy. If you look at some of the old Keith Vitale fights, here he is beating the crap out of guys, and some Kempo guy does a little scoop kick, which is this thing where it's kind of like a horse, lifting his hoof up underneath and hitting your gazongas. And so that guy gets a point. Meanwhile, Keith is just like pretty much wiped the guy's face off with a swing kick. So the fact is as far as getting into Don grade, okay, black belt is that just means you've mastered the basic. It doesn't mean that, that you're
Right.
done. It just means you in a good school. Now, unfortunately, you've got schools where they are paying a testing fee and they get the belt the
Right.
same
Just for a
day.
pat on the back, it means
Wrong,
garbage.
wrong, wrong, wrong. Master Chung's way, or that whole way was, okay, you've tested, we'll let you know in a couple of weeks. Well, that's life, isn't
Right.
it? You're not going to know immediately what's going to happen. You need to kind of think about it. What did I do wrong? And then, that's preparation for life. So then you go up in Don grade by training in more difficult technique. And why would you want to why should you have a second degree black belt? Well, because you've taught others how to do everything, and now you are eligible for that next level of grade, but you have to test for it. And then you continue testing for it after a certain amount of years, say in the cookie one. With Hapkido, for example, yeah, I know all of this technique, but as you get older or higher up in grade, the forms and things like that get a little bit easier. They're definitely complex and require
But you
practice,
put the
okay?
time in to get to that level.
And then what are you doing for the culture? What are you doing as an instructor? Why do you need a ninth degree black belt or an eighth degree or seventh degree? Because you're running a school, because you're traveling around helping with competitors, because you're coaching, because you're showing up at tournaments, you're showing up at downgrade testings, you're all over the place, all over the place. Now, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Somebody who gets a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they're awarded that not necessarily by testing, but because they've been there for a long time. Like Joe Rogan got his 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belt a lot later than the rest of the guys did. Why? Because he's
Right,
traveling
right.
around, going here, going there. Now Joe was an
Travel
amazing
athlete. Yeah.
Taekwondo stylist. Amazing Taekwondo stylist. He was showing George St. Pierre how to do a back kick. Okay, because he had that line, and he had that ability, and he's just an amazing
Right.
athlete, Joe. Now, Dynamite comes in small packages. He's not a huge guy, but you
I
know
wouldn't
what?
want to
I
get
wouldn't
kicked
want to
by him.
mess with him.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I don't want to mess with that guy. That's what a rock and 10 feet is
Right.
for. If Daniel can do it,
Give you my
David can do
gun.
it, so can
Right.
I. No, there's rules, you know what I mean? But so Joe has that desire as well to train, and he's not thinking about and so as you get up into Don grades, and it's different with every master, it's different with any type of martial art. Uh, to digress for a moment, going into an Aikido dojo that was in downtown LA, not Steven Seagal's place, but this place way in downtown LA that this gentleman used to train at. I just wanted to go. I was just a martial arts
Right.
junkie. I would go. That's the reason why I got booted out of June Chung, is because I was going to fight night at all these other schools, because the 120 black belts there, I already knew what they were going to do before they
Right.
knew what they were going to do, and I was yawn. I was bored. I was like, okay, here we go. And so I would go, and I said to him, sir, when I kick these guys in the face, I'm wearing your patch. He said, oh, you're not doing my way. You go find another school. So what he did was he set me free, and that actually did me a favor, because now I was able to be the Ronin for a while, go here and train. Look, I've studied Wing Chun, Muay Thai, all kinds of other martial
Right.
arts as well, because I want to understand them. And Jeet Kune Do is one of my favorites because they have this system without a system, but it does have a system. And that's the thing about Hapkido or any martial art, is you start learning your own way, your own technique. Every body type has a series, like, somebody who's smaller, probably judo's better for you, and more compact. Or, so different body types,
Right.
different martial arts suit them better. But so to go up in the Don grade system is really, it depends upon what you're doing for the art, and I've had schools, but I didn't have a school when I tested for my ninth Dan, and I didn't even know that I was going to test for it. I was offered this opportunity, so now what am I doing? I'm studying, I'm training with these guys, and they ain't taking it easy on me at all.
Right.
So, I was always colorblind. I was fighting with fifth, sixth, seventh dan black belts when I was a first dan. And bless his heart, Grandmaster Chong, he stopped sparring with me after about 3 years because I had those long legs, So, but he was still there. And then Master Philip Ree, wow, what an incredibly gifted athlete.
What a great
All of these
family they have
incredible
too.
athletes. Yeah. So that's the thing. So what am I doing? What did I do to deserve this? Well, I was offered the opportunity to go through this vetting process and also to be around this really high echelon of martial arts masters and grandmasters. JJ and I used to joke when we would go to tournaments because I'd coach for him, I'd corner him, I'd do whatever, and we would joke on the way to the tournament. Oh no, you are the grandmaster of all masters. No, 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 no,
Right,
you are the
right,
grandmaster
right.
of all. Because we're joking around about all this stuff. What does a grandmaster really mean? Well, the fact is that I was never really comfortable with that whole thing. I only started acknowledging that a few years ago because it's nobody's business. And I don't want to be looked at as, and that's why I would go to the Muay Thai gym because I don't want to put on the pajamas, the belt. I want to be with the guys. I want to see what
Right.
they're doing. I want them to knee me, elbow me, throw me down, and then train with the Jun Fan guys, the Jeet Kune Do guys, anybody else who's coming in, and then all of a sudden, I'm flying through the air with a knee, and this guy's like, "Where did that come
Right.
from?" You know what I mean? Well, I'm adapting because also when you're around it, you take in this technique that you see, and you see how it's articulate. And a lot of people, John, this, they don't have the line. There's a certain beauty in doing technique and doing it properly, correctly with the small circle hapkido, combat hapkido, Japanese jiu-jitsu, all of these different things, they have a certain line and technique that why it works. My thing is that if you have to engage in that kind of thing, especially knife defense, maybe 15, 20% effective, okay? Maybe. So what can you do? Well, listen, I've been with these Filipino guys. They'll slice you to ribbons. That's the scariest weapon there is. When you sent me some of those things about those cool knives, I carry my dad was president of Beretta USA. He was working for Franco Beretta, and he was responsible partially, mostly, for the 9mm Beretta being the sidearm of all the military. And people don't know that, but that's what my dad did. He was president of Beretta USA for some time. He was a president of many different
We're gonna get
companies,
cut off here
but
in
he was
10 seconds.
okay, buddy.
But
How do you want to handle that? What do you want to do, brother?
I think you should post some stuff about your father.